Hello, I'm Leo Sorio. I apologize for the bad British accent that I will use for the entirety of this audition. Thank you for seeing me. It has been a busy week apart from the quarantine work. We've had several events, so I apologize. I am familiar with the scenes, but I am not nearly as off book as I would like, so I will refer to the script in my hand throughout. I apologize for picking at my face and beginning in such a terrible manner. Anyway, this is my reader. Thank you to him, and hope you're well. Good to virtually say hello, Melissa. All right, let's go. Good morning, Watson.
Morning, Holmes. Morning. Have you seen the cane yet, Mr. Holmes? I wonder who left it.
Well, that's not a problem now, is it? The inscription says right here on the ferrule, to Dr. John Mortimer, good luck from his friends at the CCH, 1894. What do you make of it, Watson?
Well, applying your methods, Holmes, though I'm sure I can never equal them, I'd say that because the stick is scratched on the bottom, the man likes to take long walks and he lives in the country. Therefore, CCH stands for Country Club Hunt. And because such a gift is generally given upon retirement, I'd say that the fellow is a successful, elderly medical man who has lived in the country his entire life and is obviously well beloved by his friends.
Excellent. That's truly remarkable, Watson.
Am I correct then?
No, you're completely wrong.
Really, Holmes?
But you inspire me, Watson. You inspire me like John Falstaff, a man who not only has wit in himself, but is the cause of wit in other men. In point of fact, as the King tells us, our Dr. Mortimer is a young man, under 30, who used to work at Charing Cross Hospital, CCH, here in London. He does, in fact, as you mentioned, live in the country and has for the last 5 years, and he is amiable, unambitious, and absent-minded, and the possessor of a favourite medium-sized dog.
Oh, Mr. Holmes, sometimes I think I'd marry you if you didn't have such filthy habits.
Oh, trifles, Mrs. Hudson. It's a parlour trick. He is Dr. Mortimer, so CCH must stand for Charing Cross Hospital, and he must be a young man because he wouldn't leave such a fine practice if he were well established. So in point of fact, he must be a student, and if that is the case, then according to the date here, which is from approximately 5 years ago, we have a young fellow, under 30.
And the rest of it?
Well, the scratches on the cane do in fact confirm what you intuited. He does live in the country, and it is my experience that only amiable men receive remembrances, only unambitious ones leave London, and only absent-minded men leave their canes instead of a calling card.
Gore. And what about the dog?
Well, look at the tooth marks. Being a heavy stick, the dog held it tightly, here, in the middle. The dog's jaw, as shown by the space between the marks, well, it's too broad for a terrier. It's too narrow for, say, a mastiff. So it must be, no, well, yes, indeed, a curly-haired spaniel.
Holmes, please. How could you possibly know that?
Well, because I'm looking out the window and I see, on the doorstep, a curly-haired spaniel. And there is its owner, Mrs. Hudson. The door, please.
Right away, sir.
Now is that dramatic moment of fate, Watson, when you hear door and the footsteps of someone walking into your life, and you know not whether they walk in for good or for ill. What does Dr. Mortimer, a man of science, want with Sherlock Holmes, an expert in crime? And can he relieve the tedium of our mortal existence? Come in. On to the next. Right. We've got quite a bit of talking in this one.
Mm-hmm. The resolution of the case took its toll on Holmes, for he was continually troubled by the conflict he felt between the atrocious nature of the crimes he dealt with and the thrill he took in their investigation. The hound, he said, was deep in all of us, the part of our souls that is dark and troubling, and it took him time to come to grips with it all. For my part, I was anxious to understand all the details of what had occurred so that I could begin to chronicle his latest exploit. But it was a full month before I could get him to discuss the case, which he finally did on a Sunday afternoon when we were back at our flat in Baker Street.
Stapleton, he was indeed the son of Roger Baskervilles. When he realized that there were only two persons standing between him and the title, he decided that he would kill both of them. He moved to Devonshire for that purpose. He learned of the legend of the hound, and that is where his genius came in. He relied on the legend to create the real thing. He used a gigantic mastiff, hidden, painted, and starved to do his killing. His wife, she tried to warn Sir Henry with her letter. She used the cutouts to disguise her handwriting in the case her husband ever saw it. Meanwhile, Stapleton stole one of Sir Henry's boots to give the hound the smell. So that is why I suspected that a real dog was involved. Yes, I had suspicions even before you left for Devonshire. The one red herring was the convict, Victor, who actually had nothing to do with the case at all, but clouded my vision for a while, and that is unforgivable.
As if in answer to Holmes' self-reproach, the doorbell rang at this very instant, and Henry and Miss Stapleton arrived to inform us that they were getting married as soon as the law allowed, and asking me to be their best man.
Great. Let's do that one more time, and I'll just do the speech again. If you could just cue me in with the last line, and I'll just pick up the pace and give it a different energy. All right. If you just cue me with the last line. Yeah, great, thank you. If you just cue me with the last line. Yeah, thank you. Sorry.
But it was a full month before I could get him to discuss the case, which he finally did on a Sunday afternoon when we were back at our flat in Baker Street.
Stapleton was indeed the son of Roger Baskerville, and when he realized that only two people stood between him and the title, he decided to kill both of them. He moved to Devonshire for that purpose, learned of the legend of the hound, and that is where his genius came in. He relied on the legend to create the real thing. He used a gigantic mastiff, hidden, starved, and painted to do his killing. His wife tried to warn Sir Henry in her letter. She used the cutouts to disguise her handwriting, and the off chance that her husband found the letter. Meanwhile, Stapleton stole Sir Henry's boot to give the hound the smell of the man, which told me instantly that there was a real dog involved. So I had my suspicions even before you went to Devonshire. The only red herring in all this was the convict Victor, who actually had nothing to do with the killing, but clouded my judgment for a while. It's unforgivable.
As if in answer to Holmes' self-reproach, the doorbell rang at this very instant, and Henry and Miss Stapleton arrived to inform us that they were getting married as soon as the law allowed, and asking me to be their best man.
All right, let's do the last one. All right.
Holmes!
Caught cold, dear man.
No, it's this poisonous atmosphere.
It is rather thick, but as a medical man, I'm sure you'll admit that smoking is good for one's health.
You know I admit no such thing. Now, how is the case coming?
Yes. There are certainly some points of distinction about it. The footprints, for example. What do you make of that?
Mortimer said the victim began walking on tiptoe at some point.
He was running, Watson. Running desperately for his life until his heart burst and he dropped dead on the spot.
Running from what?
There lies our problem. There are indications that the man was literally crazed from fear.
His face, you mean?
That. And I believe that something dangerous approached him from across the moor. Only a man who has lost his wits would run from the house instead of towards it when he's threatened. But who was he waiting for that night? And why did he wait for them in the yew alley instead of inside the house? The scene begins to take shape, Watson. Becomes coherent. Come. Get your hat, or we'll be late.
For what?
The opera. The mayhem of music helps to clear the mind. Right. Thank you.